Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday so far. My name is Laura Clark, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator here at SmartSimple. Today, we'll be walking you through how to use ObjMail. And before we begin, I would encourage you to fill out our community engagement survey we sent out last week. This is your opportunity to share how we can improve all learning opportunities for all types of SmartSimple users, including events, webinars, and more. 10 lucky survey participants will each receive a $10 Amazon gift card, and we have recently sweetened the deal by adding 3 Amazon Echo Dots to the prizes. And the last day to enter to win is December 22nd, and we'll be sure to send you a reminder about that shortly. We have a lot of great content planned for you in 2018, so be sure to watch out for our event and webinar calendars in the new year. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter, Arjun Hirnandani, who is our Technical Account Advisor working with the support team. He began at SmartSimple over 2 years ago and currently offers Level 2 premium support services to 10 SmartSimple clients. You're welcome to ask your questions during the webinar by typing it into the chat box within your Zoom console. Otherwise, feel free to ask all your questions over the phone at the end. And now I'll pass it over to Arjun to get started.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you everybody for joining this webinar session, where today we will be discussing how you can track all your communications with OBJ email. And before we begin, I just want to say that OBJ email is an acronym for Object Email. And the reason we call it as Object Email is because any record in our system, in SmartSimple system, is treated as an object. So whenever we send any email to that object, it adds as a child to that parent, and that is why we call it as Object Email, in short form OBJ email. During the course of this webinar, we'll be going through how we can configure the email anything feature, how we can send emails through our UTA, which is our Universal Tracking Application. That can be a submission manager, program manager, budget manager, event manager. And how, and in the end, we will show you that how these records are created and how they interact with the online database. And without even logging into the system, you can actually talk to that particular record. Just to go through some use cases for email anything. So now, every object in our system, be it a level 1 record or a contact profile or an organization profile, for each and every record, we have a unique email address. And we can generate that unique email address by a single custom field. Then, by doing this, what we are doing is we are having a convenience of attaching emails directly to the object. In this way, we can store and track all the applicant communication done to that particular record, and that eliminates the lost, or that eliminates the possibility of losing any communication that was done. Now, we'll be actually, so for email anything, we need to do some prep work. So I will be showing you through the slides first that what all things are necessary. And once we go through the slides, we'll actually log into a system where we will configure that together. So the first step is we need to have a custom field on the level 1, which is our grant record or a proposal record or any level 1 on the budget manager or any level 1 on the program manager. For that, we will first go into the custom field settings and we will create a custom field, which is the field type read-only system variable. We can type in the field name as anything. So in my example on the screen that you can see is I have named the field name as email anything. And in the variable section, you can write any text you want, but the important part here is I'm using a variable called @OBJEmail@. That variable is a system generated variable that actually generates the unique email address per record. Now, when we are creating a custom field for this, you can apply the basic settings around that. So if you want that custom field to be visible to only certain rows, it will be a normal custom field. So like other custom fields in your system, you will just simply create a custom field. The only difference here is that for the variables, you will just put @obj email @. Once our custom field is set up, we will then create a new email type, because we need to define that all our emails coming to that particular record will be classified under an email activity. So we'll simply create an email activity. In the screenshot you can see is that I went to the settings of the activity, created a new email type activity. So when I say new email type activity, it's just a simple activity where I've named it as email, and I've just labeled it as a tab called email, and then I'm saying to the system that, hey, display it as a tab. Once I have this set up, then we will create a new status. So similarly, we created a new type, so we'll create a new status for that type so that we can identify in the system that, okay, this is an email that was received in the system. So similarly, we go into the settings of level 2, we create a new status and we name it as received in this example that you can see up on your screen. Once we have the custom field set up on level 1, once we have a new email activity set up, and once we have a new level 2 status set up, then we will combine all this together to compile it into one setting so that our email configuration is done. So in this screenshot, basically there are 3 steps. After we did the prep work, there are 3 steps. Number 1, on the top left-hand side, you see that there is an edit custom field that I've created as additional attachments. The reason I've created that field is sometimes the email that I'm sending to that particular level 1 may have attachments with it. So I want even those attachments to come along. So I've created a custom field called link multiple, the field type is link multiple files. And after creating that field, then we move towards the settings where we will compile everything. So on the level 2 itself, under the level 2 settings option, towards the end, we have a section that says email activity settings, where we compiled everything. And this is demonstrated on the second screenshot, which is on the top right-hand side. Once that is done, then whenever we will open any level 1, any grant record, we will see that there is a unique email address generated for that particular record. That is demonstrated right now on your screen at the bottom screenshot, where you see that I'm in a grant record, and the first line says, if you have any questions regarding this grant application, please forward an email to, and that is the email that has been generated. So now we will actually demonstrate, we will actually log into the system, and whatever we just discussed, we will actually build it together. Before I go into the system, so this is how it looks. So once I will send an email to that email address, under the activity for that record, I will see that under that email tab, I have got my email, and the email looks like this. So now let's log into the system. So I've logged into a test system now, and so if you remember, we have to first go into the grants manager or submission manager to create a level 1 read-only field that will generate my unique email address. So I go into custom fields of my submission manager. So I go into first submission manager, I go into the settings of submission manager, I go into the grants tab because in my system level 1 is called grants. I go into the custom field settings of the grant, and I click on new field. And from the field type drop down, I will select as read-only system variable. You can name it anything. So let me email for grant. I've named that for my field name. I've named it as email for grant. And in the variable section, all I need is between my @ sign, I just have to write obj email without any space. A simple obj email between @ sign. Now, since I'm using a read-only field, I can add any HTML tag here. I can format it the way I want it. So for example, I write in a message here saying this for, or maybe I say for any communications for this application, please write an email to, and I have left it like this. Now I can use some HTML tags here. Maybe I'll say I need to bold this thing. Once I've entered my syntax here under the variable section, I keep on scrolling down and I can prefer any display order. If you remember, I mentioned that you treat this as a normal custom field that you created in your system, and based on the permissions whom you want this field to be seen by, you just need to permission those settings under the permissions and availability. So just for the sake of simplicity, I will put the display order as 0 so that it shows up at the top. And I don't want any caption to show because I'm having a message already under my variable section. All I'll do is I'll click on save. Now see how it's looking like. So I go back to my submission manager and I open any record. So I open this, and if you see that here at the top, I see for any communications for this application, please write an email to, and this is my unique email generator. Now, as I mentioned, and I'm repeating myself, it's a unique email. So for any other application, this will be a different email address. Once we have the read-only field set up, the next step is to create an email activity type. So for that, we go back again to Submission Manager. We go to the configuration settings. This time we go to the activity tab and we click on types. Now in my system, I don't have an email activity type, so I will create a new email activity type. So I clicked on the plus sign and I name it here email by applicant. I can simply put a small name here and I can use captions for a bigger name, or I can simply put the name here. The tab name is email communication. So this tab name means that this will appear on the actual record when we go to the activity list. All the emails coming will be under a tab called email communications. And then I just selected as display as tab. And then I clicked on save. So my email activity is set up now. Now all I have to do is I have to create a new status. So I go back to Submission Manager, I go into configuration settings, I go into activity, and this time I go into statuses and I create a new status. So I say new status and I say received. And I'll just say received and I just simply click on save. Now I go back to my email type that I've created so that I can link this status with that type. So I go back to my activity, I go back to my type, I open my email by applicants type, I go into the permissions and availability, and here where it says available statuses, I clicked on the lookup and I only selected my received status. So basically, I think you were not seeing the page that I opened. So basically, just a second. So basically, I am on this particular page where it shows me available statuses. I have to click on the lookup, and the moment I click on the lookup, just a second, guys. So the moment I click on the lookup, it shows me all my statuses for my system. And I will select on Submission Manager Receive because that is the status that I've created. And I click on OK. And you will see that the moment I clicked on OK, my available status came here, and I will all I will do is I will just click on Save. So now my status is set up, my new email activity type is set up, my new custom field, which is the object email field, that is also set up. And now all I have to do is create certain fields so that if there is any attachment on my email that I'm forwarding to this grant application, I get that attachment as well. So for that, we'll go into the settings of the Submission Manager activity. So we go into the configuration settings, we go into the activity, we go to custom fields, and then here itself in my common custom field, I click on new field and I say link multiple files. So I'll select a new field type, link, and I'll say additional attachments, and I'll just say save. Again, guys, treat this as a normal custom field. If you want to add any permissions availability, you want to add any field type, you want to make this field only available for certain brand types at certain statuses, feel free to control that custom field as a normal custom field. Once we have this field set up, we will create another field so that whatever description is there in the email, even that is carried over. So what I do is I just click on new field and I'll create another read-only field and I will just name it as description. And in the description, I will use a variable called at. Between the at sign, I'll just type in description. Once I do this, all I'll do is I'll just click on save. Again, guys, this is a normal custom field. All that is important in this field is the variable that we use at description at. Now I have my description field set up. I have my additional attachments field set up. Now the main thing is combining all these into one particular setting, and then we are done. So we go into Submission Manager, we go into Configuration Settings, we go into Activity, we keep on scrolling to the very bottom and we see Email Activity Settings. So here is the place where we will combine all the individual things that we have done so far. We selected as a default activity type as email by applicants. We don't need the send activity status because we are not sending out any emails from the system, we are just receiving any email. So we need received activity status. So I clicked on there and I selected the status as received. Now in the display field, it's good to have a name that will be my subject. And the attachment field, all I'll select is additional attachments, because this is a field that I've created so that if there are any attachments along with that email that I'm sending, those attachments are brought over to the system. And all I'll do is I'll click on save. That's it. My configuration part is done. Now let's perform a test to see whether my activity is created, not created, or how it's looking like right now. So I go back to my Submission Manager and I open the same submitted record. I have this email address here. Just want to show you how my activity type will look like. So I click on my activity list, which is on the bottom or on the left hand side, and you'll see that I have a new tab here called Email Communications. If you remember, when we were creating the email activity type, I named the tab as Email Communications. So if I click on that, I will see that once I send an email, whatever email I'll send, it will create a record under this. So now let's actually send an email and see how it looks like. So all I have to do is copy this email. I copied this email. Now actually let's go to your mailing server. So I go into my email address, which is so I've logged into my system and I'll just send a new email to this email address. So I compose a new email and I'll say this is for testing, and I've already pasted the two email address and I've just said this is for testing, and I'm saying hi, this is a test, and maybe let's use some attachments. Let's see if my system has any attachments. Yeah, I have this Excel sheet that I can attach. So I'm attaching my Excel sheet, and all I'll do is I'll just send the email. So I've sent an email and confirm your message has been sent. Wonderful. So now let's go back to our system. Now once we send an email, what happens? The email is received by SmartSimple, and then SmartSimple processes that email and attaches to the relevant object. Now this takes approximately 5 minutes. When I say 5 minutes, it takes 5 minutes to receive the email, process the email, and create the record. Now till the time the email comes, I will show you certain other ways by which I can customize this object email field that I've created. I have a couple of ways, and I've set it up for a couple of clients. So I'll show you how I can use this to make it more fancy. And if you have any questions, we can start the question answer, and then I'm hoping that by the time I finish this, we will have our activity created under the email communications. So I'll go back to this field again. So I go back to my submission manager, and I go back to my configuration settings. I go to the grad, I click on custom field, and I open my custom field here. Now I can, if you remember when we were creating this field, and I've just used the HTML tag here, I can use other HTML syntax here. So I have some predefined templates here which I can use. So I'll show you two different ways by which we can use this. So the way we can use this is, so basically I have some predefined templates already there. So I'm just copy pasting from my predefined templates. So basically all I'll do is, so one way is this, that, so basically I added some styling around it, I added some background color around it, and so that it looks nice, so that it looks in points and stuff. So now I'll just save this field. Let's see how this field looks like. So I go back to my submission manager, I open the same record again, and you'll see this is my original field, the original syntax that I used, but I used some HTML syntax and it looks like this now. So it's all about how you want to present this field to your applicants or maybe to your internal staff. You can customize this field. I have another way by which we can customize the field. Let me just show you that way also, and that's a little fascinating. It's a little more intuitive. Let me show you that way. Okay, and so we'll go back to our custom field. And in the same custom field, I'm adding another break tag so that it moves to another line. Okay, and I just don't want this. So basically, if you see under this section, I'm using a ticker message. Now, basically, the way I'm using this is on the screen, it will start from the right hand side and go towards the left side. So it will keep on running so that people can see this message coming on their screen again and again. So now, after saving, let's see how it looks on the application. So I go back to my submission manager. I open my same application, and you'll see how it looks like. So I've used the same variable in 3 different ways. So you see on my page, it will keep on running this message. This is just a highlighter that, hey, if you want to send any email, copy this email address, and you can send. There are 3 ways of putting it. If you know more HTML syntaxes, or if you want to create it or customize it in any way, you can do that. Let's just double check at whether my email has arrived or not. So I click on activity list, I click on email communication, and there you go. My email is here. I'll just rewind one step. I'm on my main tab, I sent an email here, I click on activity list, I go to email communications, and I have my email here. If I click on that, you'll see that this is for testing, additional attachment, I added a book one, and this is the description. This is a test, Arjun Hinanandani, that's my name because I sent it from my email. Now, people always say that, this formatting is a little bit weird and we cannot print this stuff. In order to see it in a much better way, once you are in that activity, you click on options at the top and you click on email. And this is how, once you click on email, it will actually show you like this. It will actually show you like this. So that where you can see your email body, you can print it, you can auto format it, you'll see when the email was sent, how it was sent, what's the subject, what's the attachment, the actual email is here. Now, we can do the same thing for an organization, we can do the same thing for a contact. The only difference there is you don't need to do any customization there. All you need is a simple read-only field to define the OBJ email variable. So for contact profile and organization profile, you simply create a read-only field that will be at obj email at. And for the universal tracking application, you need to create a new email activity type, a status for that, an object email field, and then you just need to configure all these three things together. So this is how we actually configured the object email. So now we move on to the question and answer session.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we've had a few questions come in. Thanks for that, Arjun. The first question is, if I can't find my email in the record, can I recover it?
Sure. Thanks for that question, and it's a very good question. I've often had that question. Now, what happens is, if as I mentioned during the webinar, is when the email is sent, SmartSimple receives that email and processes that email so that it can create a record under that parent. Once you send the email, SmartSimple receives that email, and if our mailing agent is for some reason not processing the records, what happens is we still receive the email, but the processing doesn't happen. So if you do not receive the email in 5 minutes, feel free to reach out to support, and we can double check that if the mailing agent, which is supposed to process the emails, is running or not. Now, as a side note, the support team monitors the mailing agent in every 5 minutes. During the course of the day, overnight, when we come in the morning, we always monitor our mailing agent so that the processing is never stopped. But for any reason, if there is no email received and you actually send the email, feel free to reach out to us. The email will not be lost. It's just that we received it, but there is some issue in processing the email. So we can look into that and we can process it, and then it will actually create the record.
Okay, great. Thanks, Arjun. The next question is, what are the common business cases you see with ObjMail?
Thank you again for that question, and it's again a really very good question. I'll share one of the experiences with one of my clients. Last year, one of my clients went paperless. Paperless is a big thing, and the only way they can now communicate with their end users, with their community, is by object email. They create this read-only field and expose it to their applicants, where the applicants actually directly email to the application, and it actually creates the record of what they are asking about. The entire communication thread is attached as a level 2 under that particular record. Now, in this way, there is no hassle of maintaining the email threads. There is no hassle of receiving a paper email or receiving a document along in that paper question that they send, scanning it and then uploading it under the record. It mitigates everything or all those scenarios. Simply exposing that email address to the end users, they just directly talk to the application.
Okay, next question is, why use ObjMail instead of the messages that have been set up in SmartSimple?
Every functionality in SmartSimple is different. Now, object email will actually create that record under that particular grant. Now, if we use other communications within the platform, it will not create the record directly under that parent. So, for example, if I use just normal messages, those messages will be stored in the system. But then, if you want to, go back to that message to see, okay, this message was sent on so and so this date, and maybe the person forgot to mention the application ID or the organization name, then it becomes difficult for the person processing that message to see, okay, this message belongs to this particular application. And in that scenario, object email comes into picture because that actually creates the record under the same parent.
Okay. Next question is, are replies coupled as a conversation?
Well, when we reply to that email, yes, it will be stored under the email communication. So basically, once you start talking back and forth, any email that you are sending out or any email that you're receiving will be under that email by communication tab that I created. So anytime you go into that record, you go to the activity list, you will see the entire email chain that you're talking about. So yes, it's back and forth.
Next question, do we need to set up a catch-all emails with a wrong email address?
So basically, if I understood the question correctly, is you have to set up a catch-all email. That means that are you saying that just in case if you miss the email, is that what you mean by that?
Yeah. So I don't know if this person asking the question wants to elaborate. In case email addresses are wrong.
Oh,
in the event they're wrong.
Again,
thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that question. Now, if the email address is wrong, SmartSimple will not receive that email. If we don't receive the email, we will not be able to process it and attach it to the relevant parent. So the person who's sending the email, they need to actually send the email to the correct object email that is generated. And one suggestion or one advice that I gave to my dedicated client was that, you know, if you remember, I showed you the instructions or the object email that I created. I created a box, a yellow color box where the object email was generated there. You can always add instructions there that this is the email that you will be sending the email communication to. Always make sure to CC yourself or the program officer or the project manager or the relevant contact person, so that if the email fails, you will receive a notification that the email failed. Or if the system did not receive the email, the person will still receive the email. So just as a cushion or as a caution, always use or always CC the email to yourself also, just in case.
Okay. Next question, will Objmail work if the email is CC'd or BCC'd?
Yes, that's a very good question. It will definitely work if it is CC'd or BCC'd. Yes, okay. It will still create the record because it's all about, treat it as a normal communication. Forget SmartSimple. You are sending emails from your work email to other people where people are CC'd, BCC'd. In that scenario also people receive the email. So SmartSimple also receives that email, and it's all about receiving the email. Once we receive the email, we process it and still create the record.
Okay, and I really like this next question. How does it handle spam emails?
Well, just like any other mailing server, if there is an email which is coming again and again, which is a general flag where keywords are used in that email, SmartSimple mailing agent also treats those things as a general scale. So if a person sends out 10 emails back to back with the same keyword, any other mailing agent will think that it's a spam. Similarly, SmartSimple's mailing agent will also think that it's a spam. So there is no difference between the processing where SmartSimple mailing agent processes and any other mailing server that you use. So it's really kind of tricky that whether SmartSimple will treat it as spam or not. As long as people are using it as legitimate emails, it will never take it as spam.
Okay, perfect. As the last question, can Objmail be used in CC Field or BCC Field when sending the email, or it has to be put into the two fields?
I think we discussed this question, but yeah, I'll repeat the answer again. Yes, we can use the object email as CC Field or BCC Field or two field, and yes, it will still come to SmartSimple, process it, and will be created as a level 2 under that level 1.
Okay, great. And I hope this person found their answer in that previous answer as well. Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. And thank you for joining us and taking the time to listen to this presentation, tracking your communications in Objmail. We hope you found the material useful. We'd love to hear your feedback on today's webinar and encourage you to fill out the client survey, which will be sent to you after this presentation. And before we go, I just want to be sure to remind everyone to fill out our community engagement survey we sent out last week. It's your opportunity to share how we can improve all learning opportunities for the SmartSimple community of users, including events, webinars, and more. 10 lucky survey participants will receive a $10 Amazon gift card, and we've also sweetened the deal recently with 3 Amazon Echoes as prizes as well. The last day to enter that survey to win is December 22nd. And if any questions pop up along the way, Arjun and the SmartSimple support team are always here to help. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.